What's up, guys? My name's Adam Gusky, and you're listening to the Mad Awareness Podcast. Today we're joined by a two-time state champ of Osage, Iowa, an All-American for the University of Northern Iowa, and the head coach at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. Great school, by the way. And his name is Dave Malecek. You might have heard of him. So he was my coach throughout my college career, and I texted him about the podcast, and I was like, so yeah, we'll probably run through your high school career, college career, coaching career, that kind of stuff. And he's like, nope, we're doing all stories. And if you know Coach Malecek, there's a respect there when you're talking to him. And he's not the kind of guy that you're going to say no to. So we started out with a story and finished with stories, and it lasted about an hour. So if you love wrestling, I promise you're going to love this episode. My favorite story involves two clowns, Dave Schultz, and a house party, and I'm going to leave it at that. With no further ado, let's get it rolling. Coach, how are we doing today?
Doing great, Mr. Adam Gusky. How are you?
Pretty good. Usually I ask like how people's lives have changed since quarantine and stuff, but I've had the pleasure of seeing you the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. We were at UWL wrestling golf outing. It was amazing. We won't talk about your golf game. And then I saw you last Friday in an outdoor wedding of Mr. Albie Lloyd McKinney. Really, it's Lloyd Albie. And NCAA finals for us at UWL. Was married. I did not see your dance moves. I did not stick around for that. But yes, Adam, 2 Fridays in a row. So I'm kind of wondering what we're going to do this Friday. What are we doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow, the schedule looks free. So,
okay.
It's probably a good thing you didn't see my dance moves. It's probably about as good as the golf game. But anyways, so I asked you what you want to do today, and you were like, I don't want to run through my career. I want to go over stories. And I was like, that's awesome. But I do have one question for you, just general question. So you're the head coach at UW La Crosse, and I want to know, like, how has COVID kind of affected and brought up challenges of just like running the regular preseason that you do with your guys?
Yeah, I think, Adam, that's a great question. I mean, because it's ever changing too of how everybody's handling COVID. And the unique thing is, Adam, that everybody's in the same boat, more or less in the same boat. It's not like a D2 thing, a D3 thing, or D1 thing. Everybody's in it with COVID. And so your training has changed, your regulations have changed, everything that you can do has changed. And I can tell you, hey, what we'd like to do coming up in the next couple of weeks with a preseason is maybe officially starting practice October 1st, but that could all change tomorrow. So I think the biggest thing on what we've changed over COVID is trying to stay as focused as we can, trying to stay as motivated as you can, not to read a whole lot and go down that rabbit hole of reading negative stuff about COVID. I've really tried just to look for the next bright spot and just enjoy each day. It's stuff that I've told you guys as one of my former athletes, Adam, which sounds really weird now that you're one of my former athletes. Seems like just yesterday you were coming to us, but that just take it one day at a time. Try to get a little bit better today. You only get today. And so I've really tried to carry that over with myself and just really enjoy today.
Cool. Good stuff. So let's dive into the stories wherever you want to start.
Well, and I think as we said at the beginning, like just talking about, stories, I think that's what makes wrestling so great. I really enjoyed, and I hold your podcast right up there, like with the flow interviews or how wrestling changed my life interviews. And you start listening to all these stories. And I think that's what wrestling needs. We're a unique breed. I don't know how many times I've told people that, how unique we are. But there's stories with wrestling and from, I look back just even as high school and being very blessed to come from Osage, Iowa, where, when you say Osage, almost everybody in the United States, oh, okay, yeah, that's in Iowa, or maybe not everybody in the United States, but they should, right? And so just really blessed in Osage. And I was looking up some stats today and like on Osage, I was like, man, I should probably know these things. But at Osage, I didn't know how good we had it, Gusky. We had Olympic silver medalist, Gerald Lehman. We've had Division I NCAA champ with Doug Schwab. We have had guys place at Tbilisi, the toughest tournament in the world, and that's Mark Schwab. We've had D1 champs. We've had D3 champs, Dusty Rhodes. That's not his all-star name. That's his real name. Dusty Rhodes won a national title for Wartburg. We've had numerous Division I All-Americans, but we've had 58 individual state champions. Okay. And we finished 14 times. We finished first or second in the state tournament, 14 times with 4 state titles and 10 runners up. So like when I started thinking about that, I was like, man, like, you know, talking about what you grew up in or what other athletes did, I tell you, I think just wrestling was so important. I remember walking into our duel to see if we were going to go to state duels in Iowa. You have a regional meet. It was against New Hampton, a rival of ours. And I ended up wrestling Curtis Heidemann, who is amazing, man, strong as an ox. He was 2 years younger than I was. He ended up winning, and he got third his sophomore year, third as a freshman, third as a sophomore, and then he won it his junior and seniors after I graduated at the same weight class. We walk in there and into the duel, and I got a picture of this, Adam, of what Iowa wrestling's like. The duel starts at 7 o'clock. We roll in at 5:30. Bus pulls up. We walk in. We can't get in the gym. It is so packed. It is so packed. There's college coaches all along the walls. There's people are just, and we're not even there to warm up yet. That was back in the day when you weighed in the morning. We weighed in that morning, had school, and then we came there for that duel, and we ended up winning the thing and then going on and win a state title. And I think of some of those great things that we did, but you know, wrestlers a little bit crazy. I think one of my favorite things, we're the Green Devils, and in Osage had a green devil mascot. You know, most devils are red, but in Osage they're green. Adam, you probably didn't know that.
I did not.
And so, yeah, so one day I was walking out after wrestling practice and kind of had a little edge, maybe a little bit back in high school, a little wild side that you probably don't need to know about. But the best part about it was I walked by this car, and back in the day you didn't lock your car either because everybody felt safe. And there's the mascot, the devil head, and then the whole suit and everything. I looked around, I was like, hey man, I want that thing. So I opened up the door, grabbed the devil head, went and got my buddy Dino Marzin, who was a teammate of mine. I said, Dino, we got to have some fun with this. So we got done with wrestling practice. I go, let's get another run in. Let's work out again. He goes, okay, let's do it. So we started running around town, but we take turns wearing the devil head. Well, we didn't get a lot of attention for that. So I thought, okay, Dino, get on my shoulders. And then we started going in front of people's windows. And so people would be doing their dishes, look out the window, and there'd be this devil head.
Oh, God.
And then we'd run again. And the whole time I was just telling him, hey, man, we're getting extra workouts in. We're running. We're getting better extra workouts. So I think that's one of my favorite ones from high school, of just not only get to be an opportunity to be on a team that won a state title, but kind of maybe scaring some people in the great town of Osage with wrestling. So when I was also coming from Osage with Mark Schwab, was a 4-time state champ. Okay. And he was awesome. I mean, and he was just phenomenal. And my brother, Joe, I had 2 older brothers, Joe and Dennis. And they had this great idea. They said, hey, you got to get tougher. I was like, okay, what do you need me to do? You need to go in the summer and wrestle with Mark Schwab. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I was in 7th grade. He was in, I take that back. I was in 8th grade. So I thought I was kind of a bad man, Adam. I was just coming around, man. I was going to be all right. So Mark was a junior, just won Fargo, and, you know, top recruit in the United States. And
so
they're like, go and work out.
A 3-time state champ at that point.
Yeah, he's already a 3-time champ going for his 4th title. And my brother's great idea. So hey, let's go work out with him. So it's kind of funny because I still see Mark all the time. So Mark's a shorter little guy, and I was little back then. I weighed probably 130 pounds, and Mark was weighing, you know, probably same, but a lot shorter. And I'm telling you, Adam, I can't explain to you how bad that workout was. I thought we were going 15, 20 minutes. I thought we were drilling, and then we were going to go live. It was for 2 hours. I kid you not. It was 2 hours, to the point where I was trying to crawl out of the room, and he dragged me back in. One time he hit me so hard with a double, knocked the wind out of me. I couldn't speak to tell him what happened, and I couldn't breathe. He's just dragging me back in again. So I'm over in the corner crying. I mean, I'm crying. I'll admit it on podcast, right? Oh my gosh, I was crying. I had never been beat up so bad in my life. And he looked at me and goes, okay, I'll see you in 2 days. And I thought to myself, that was the worst thing anybody could have ever said to me. I'll see you in 2 days. We're going to do this again. And it continued. And that summer, it continued. Worst beatings of my life. I'll tell you right now, I still see Mark, and that was 35 years ago, 40 years ago. Yeah, it's 40. Nah, not 40. 35 years ago. Okay. I still get nervous. I break a sweat like when I see him, and he's 5'3". I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I still get nervous, man. He
That's
whooped
crazy.
me so bad, Adam. Oh my goodness. But
So,
he was something else.
did you like keep wrestling him then after that? Like more
I did. I can't
times?
remember how many times. I can't remember how many times. And then when I actually went to Northern Iowa, really kind of, I was influenced by him and his older brother Mike. Both went to Northern Iowa, and I really enjoyed my time at Northern Iowa. But that was one of the main reasons I went. Is Mark was there and Mike, and but I had Mark was a senior, redshirt senior, my redshirt year. So we were on the same team. But man, I got to see how he trained and all the adversity he went through. But man, that was probably Adam. That was I still have my neck still twinges a little bit. I've never been beat up so bad in my life. If you wrestled before and had someone let you have it, like you just don't know if you're going to make it. I went to as we talk about deep water. Gus, you've been to deep water before, right?
Oh yeah.
This is the deepest water. There was no arm floaties. There was nothing. Yeah, I was in trouble.
Man.
And
So,
I thought I was good.
well, that's crazy too because you're in 8th grade wrestling a
Yeah.
three-time state champ in high school.
Yeah.
But you were telling me at the wedding about your time training with Coach O and that workout. Like how would that
Oh,
work out compared to this one?
oh, it was about the same. So with Coach O, and I've told the story a couple of times to some of the closer guys because most of my stories are how I just got my ass kicked, Adam. Oh my goodness, because those stick in your mind, right? Those stick in your mind. I'm hoping that I put some on some people throughout the year. I don't, not very many,
I've
but
I've had a
I
few.
got I got whoops. Oh my goodness. So at the time, and I don't know dates for exact, but to give you a kind of an idea of it, is John Oostendorp, who's the head coach at Co now, does a phenomenal job. I can give you all his accolades. He's just a good guy too. Coach, they call him Big O. He's a big dude. So anyway, he is done competing at Iowa, and he's training for the Olympic cycle and the World Championships, and he's currently number one on the Greco ladder. And I had moved to Cedar Rapids, so it's got to be 98, 99, somewhere in there. I think it's before the 2000 Olympics. So I moved to Cedar Rapids, and he's in Iowa City, and we were friends a little bit in high school and a little bit in college, just kind of knew each other. Excuse me. And he said, "Can you come down and work out with me?" I said, "Absolutely." So I would drive down, and I graduated in '94, so I was out of it for a while, and but wanted to help him any way I could. And so I would go down there in Iowa City and train with him and wrestle Greco. I did like Greco in high school, so I was like, okay, let's give this a whirl. And he would beat me pretty bad. Like it was not fun, but I would battle him and give him a different look. And a lot of college guys didn't want to wrestle in Greco, so I'd jump in there. And once again, John was a huge man. Oh my goodness. So direct opposite. I had Mark Schwab, a little guy, beat me up. Now I got this big guy. I just can't find anybody my own size. Anyway, Big O, we're getting ready to work out. It's in Hawkeye room, and I've never liked Iowa. Like, right, I'm a UNI guy. Never liked Iowa State. Never liked Iowa. I didn't like being in that room anyway, just because the colors, they're black and gold. On with the story is that, so you kind of get a little pissed off when you walk in there, like you want to prove yourself. So John and I are going, and we're drilling. He goes, "Hey, let's go some live." I said, "Perfect." I go get a drink, and out walks Coach Gable. "Hey, Coach Gable, how are you?" "Good, good. How are you?" "Okay, great." "Who are you here with?" I said, "I'm working out with John." "Okay, good." So I go, and it's the first 30 seconds, and I throw him in a headlock. And I throw him to his back. And he fights off and gets up. And all of a sudden, like, he gets up, and Gable waves at him. He walks over, and they go behind. They used to have curtains in their room. He went behind the curtain. Them two talked for like 8 minutes. I'm back there going, holy shit. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I threw John Oostendorp. Holy smoke. Back then, there's no cell phones, like no one to tell. I wanted to like take a picture of it. Like, I just want somebody to see it. There's no one in the room except Gable. So I throw him. First time I'd ever thrown him. And it was probably like a sag headlock. I probably barely got 2 out of it. All of a sudden, he comes from behind that curtain, Gusky. And the next, like, our workout was supposed to be 35 minutes long because I said I had somewhere I had to get going. Probably, we had school. I was a school teacher. I had to get to school. He beat me up for an hour and a half. Like Schwab's was 2 hours long. This was only an hour and a half, but way worse. Oh, ribs. I mean, he launched me into, and like, it was Gusky. It's something that I'll never forget. And it was one of the worst whoopings, one of the top 5 beatings I ever took. in college wrestling and out of college, for sure out of college, but he put it on me, man. I was like, well, if it fired him up, and he went on to have, I mean, great accolades, and he was second on the Olympic ladder and just had a great career. So that was a tough day, Adam. That was a, I just laugh at it
stories.
now.
I can't even imagine.
It was terrible. It was because you know how you can't quite catch your breath, and you're like, I just want to try to score. Maybe I can boost my, you know how the mental games, the conversation you're having in your head, and then you get to that point where like, I just want to live. I mean, honestly, I was just thinking, okay, 3 numbers, man, 911. I'm just hoping someone can call 911 because he is letting me have it. And then the worst part, Gusky, is I had to go shower. I mean, my eyes swollen up, my ears bleeding, I can't hardly move, and then I got to drive 45 minutes, walk in right as my class is getting there. I was a PE teacher and trying to teach for the whole day, and I was just miserable all day. I was probably miserable for the whole month. But I went back down and worked out with him again. I just made sure if Gable was there, I didn't ever try to score.
So you said like, you know, like you're kind of hoping that somebody calls 911 or something happens. But like, how long did it take to get to that point in the workout, do you think? Like 20 minutes or like an hour?
I think so. I mean, you know, the best part about telling stories, I could say however long it took because it was so long ago, but you know, the part of the story, I guess the best part of it is like I think it came on quicker than I wanted. You know, somebody, I can't remember who always, just don't get out of shape, man. Always try to stay in shape. And it's a lot easier to stay in shape than it is to get back into shape. And so always try to take pride in that with Airdyne and doing all kinds of stuff that, like, if you ever got called to go work out with somebody, help them, man, you wanted to do it. And so, you know, and then I guess another one of the top beatings I took was now I'm getting older. Now I'm married and got triplets, and we're at Wartburg College, and there's a guy by the name of Brad Varing who ended up winning silver in the Worlds in Greco. And then Randy Pugh, who's the assistant coach at UNI now, I would go to grad class in the morning, and as soon as I got done with class, we'd go a group of 3. And so because Randy was training for freestyle and Brad was obviously doing Greco, so he went in and wrestled Randy, he wrestled freestyle, then he'd go Greco. That, I'm telling you, like, that was some of the longest goes. That Brad Varing, like, I'm telling you, like, you can see why those guys are at the world level. When you think you're pretty good, like, yeah, I'm okay, I can hold my own, like in the college room. Then you start wrestling these guys that are doing it for a living and doing it at a high level, a higher level than you ever had been at. It was awesome to learn. Like, I picked up so much stuff, and they were great. And like, they need partners, and you know, and I'm telling you, Brad Varing put it on me. One time he had it gutted so tight, I don't think I could breathe right for about 3 weeks later. He had squeezed my ribs so tight.
Oh, God.
And now, Gusky, all you guys are starting to think, I am Coach Malecek, you just got your ass kicked all the time.
No. I know from experience that you're a pretty good wrestler. I think we all do.
Thanks, Adam. But yeah, I had some whoopings there. Very, oh my gosh. Yeah, those guys, it was so cool though. And I think, like, you know, you see the guys, and I wish I would have done it even more, was I do it now with coaches. I reach out to coaches all the time and ask them questions, and get their advice and pick their brain. But like, I wish I'd done that more when I was an athlete, and I wish I'd done that more right when I got out too, was like, go and wrestle even more guys, even though I was wrestling Big O and I was wrestling Varing and Pugh and some of these guys that were, you know, training back then. Like, I wish I'd done that way more. And I know some of our guys on our team at UWL are doing that. And I think that's just the best thing to do, is go gain knowledge from all kinds of different looks and different people.
So like, when you wrestled them, that was kind of after your career. Were you like coaching at that point then?
Yeah, I was a high school coach, man. I thought I was pretty good. I was taking down high school guys, you know. And it was a whole new ball game. You know, you'd go from this speed where I was probably shooting low singles against the high school kids and like super ducking them. And then, you know, and then you're wrestling the guy who's number 1 on the ladder, world silver medalist, and just getting throttled.
That's crazy.
It was, but you know, like, I think, you know, this is going to sound really crazy, and I think most wrestlers that watch this will understand this, is that at some point you start missing that. You miss that. I think you miss that feeling of like exhaustion, and it's at a different level now when you get, like, I'm 50 years old, and it doesn't take me as long to get exhausted. It still takes some, but like, you miss that feeling of like, like when you're sitting against that wall after a hard practice, and you're just dripping, you can barely feel your shoulders, your neck, your fingers, your sweats are torn, your t-shirts torn, you're just dripping like, and most people like don't like that feeling. I'm just telling you right now, that's probably one of the best feelings out there. And I think if I'd had a little better mindset, I know if I'd had a better mindset, I think I probably would have had maybe even a little more success, on the wrestling mat. But that feeling, Adam, of being totally exhausted and wrestling those guys, yeah, I was kind of pissed. I was kind of upset with myself, like, I could have gave them a better go, or I should have scored more. But, I was there as a workout partner. I was doing my job. I was making them better.
Yeah. I'm not like super hardcore workout guy, but like my brother asked me, he's like, why do you do the workouts in the garage instead of in the house with the AC on? I was like, something about it being 90 degrees just brings me back to wrestling.
Yeah.
So,
I waited till it was like 95 the other day, put it right out there on the Airdyne right out there and just got going. And
good stuff.
it's something about that feeling, right? It's that
Yeah.
feeling. It's definitely that feeling.
There's so much sweat you can't see. That's when it
Yeah.
starts to feel good.
That's good stuff, Gusky. Absolutely.
So yeah. What else do you got for us?
Oh my goodness. I think I think one thing that every wrestler talks about, and now even coaching for 27 years, is like maybe things you would have changed and done differently. I think we've talked about this a little bit, but just going back and thinking and having the right mindset. And I think a lot of the mentality was you just got to work a little bit harder. You got to work. You got to do more, when really it kind of came down to those 6 inches between your ears. And I look back and I was telling, my wife, as we talked about the other day, like it didn't change who I am as a person today. Your accolades don't make you. It's kind of your testimonies, not your titles. It's kind of something I've been going through. It's about what people say about what kind of person you are. It's not your titles. But if it was about titles, then I wish I would have spent more time and not worried so much about what other people thought or trying to please other people. I think if I go back and look at my career, and I'm happy with that. Like I sleep at night, and I lost some matches and I won some matches, and I met some amazing people. But Adam, I think the biggest thing is now as a coach, like telling our guys and like try to share with them that, man, it was the 6 inches. Everybody's got high crotches, double singles, everything, good on top, good on bottom. But it was just that confidence when I stepped out on the mat. And I think that's probably one of the biggest differences. One of the things I think about still as a coach is back 30 plus years when I wrestled competitively. Maybe last time was like 96. I think it was the last time I wrestled competitively. But, well, I take that back. I lied to you. I have a story for you, is that last time I competed was 2006, Gusky. How old were you when it was 2006?
I was like 9 or 10.
Okay, so when you were 9 or 10, so I coached at Wartburg, the Evil Empire, and I made a bet with their team. I said, if you guys win the NCAA title, maybe it was 2003. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's one of the years they won it. They win, and I said, I'll wrestle in Vegas, but I get to wrestle in the Veterans Division. And so they're like, all right, sweet. So they end up winning. Didn't think they were going to win it. It might have been 06. It doesn't matter. So I get trained. I'm like, well, I'm a man of my word. I said I was going to do it. So I started training. And man, I was feeling great. So that was March. And then I think it was maybe April. So I had 2 months. I trained as hard as I could, felt really good. And my wife had never seen me wrestle. My wife had never been around me as a competitor. I didn't meet her until later in life. And so she'd never seen it. I said, Kiba, what do you say we fly out to Vegas? You get to watch me wrestle. And she goes, all right, let's do this. So we had my family, a lot of people fly out like, hey, we're going to watch you wrestle again. Because it had been years, right? It had been, 10 years, I think, or roughly, 8-10 years. They're like, okay, we're going to watch you wrestle. They're going to have a good time, right? We're going to Vegas. So I get out there and I start getting ornery and I start getting focused. And she's used to this happy-go-lucky guy. She's used to this, like, hey, whatever you want to do type kind of guy. And, trophy husband. You know what I'm talking about, Gusky. And so we get there, I weigh in the night before, and now I need to eat. I need to get to bed. I mean, that's my only focus. Like I felt really good. Weight was good. Weight cut was easy, and go to bed, get up next morning, have coffee. Imagine that. stretch a little bit. Like, I'm ready to go. I want to try to win a senior, veterans division national title. And so I go and I warm up, and I'm like, God dang, I feel pretty good. So this is like 8:00. 8:30 comes around. Okay, great. Okay, brackets are posted. They put them up like 5 minutes before they started. It was back before they did them online. See how old this is, Gusky? And I go and I look at the brackets. I'm going down, the first week. I get all the way down. I see, I think it was 211 or whatever the weight was back then. And like, I'm the only one that says Dave Malecek, Wartburg Wrestling Club, first place. I'm like, damn, national champ. I had no one in my bracket. It's been like the only year ever in the history of veterans wrestling that there was no one there. So veterans wrestling, I think, is 35 years, and like Division A is like 35 to 45. So I was Division A, 211 or 198 pounds, whatever it was. And I was the only one. So that was at 9:00. At 9:15, my wife and I were in Margaritaville drinking some beer and having a great time in Vegas.
Wow. How mad were you though?
I was upset. I ain't gonna lie. I was really upset. Like, you kind of want just to kind of see, you always wonder, like, God, can I still do it? Can I still do it? And it's different doing it in practice. It's different doing it with, just college guys that you've been training. We had some really good guys, obviously, there when I was training. But, yeah, I was a little upset. But that's all right. And now, you know what? I can't find that damn octagon. I've looked for that thing, that huge trophy. Like,
oh.
I can't find it. I can't find it.
That's true. That'd be sweet. You should hang that up in the UWL room when you find it.
If I find it, I'll look. Man. I'll look. It's good stuff, though. But it was a good experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it was still a good trip.
Yeah, it was a great trip. Great trip. I wasn't really sore after that tournament. So I was like, it's probably the first tournament ever I wasn't sore.
Yeah. Man, that's funny. Awesome, but also sad that you didn't get to compete with anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, national champ.
I mean, there you go. But man, I love these stories. I can't believe you hold all these amazing stories back from all of us when you're coaching us. What's up with that?
Oh, Lord. I know. Well, I think we talk about other stuff. I really enjoy the guys. I've been so blessed having you guys and being around you guys, and it seems like that we have more current stories. I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast just on stories about the UWL guys and the funny stuff that's happened with you, and what happened with guys came before you. I've been here 15 years, high school stories I could tell, in college. I should probably write a book, because I think some of the stuff, that's what makes wrestling good. I don't know if you ever watched the ones with Royce Alger. I'm just dying laughing. He gets telling those stories. They're at that taco shop. He gets telling stories, or like when they went and recruited the Brands brothers, I mean, just that kind of stuff. Like, it gets you involved. Or listen to Dake or David Taylor. I mean, those are the popular ones, but it's always good. Flo does those. And that's you want to find the inside. You're more drawn to someone or some person when you know them a little bit more personally, or some like inside information about them, like, man, they went through some hardships, or hey, I've been there before, I felt that exhaustion, someone's beat me up that bad, or I did that to someone else. But Mark Schwab's probably laughing, he did that to everybody, and so so did Big O. That I was just another guy, but they used to do that to everybody.
Yeah. That's scary to think about.
Shoot. Yeah. Well, I will tell you probably my favorite story, Gusky, and I don't know if you know this one, but I was at Northern Iowa from 89 to 94, had some amazing assistant coaches, and one my sophomore year and most of my junior, senior, I can't remember which one. It doesn't really matter. That Don Briggs, my head coach, Don Briggs was good friends and kind of knew the head coach who was out at Stanford at the time, and they kind of got talking. Dave Schultz was out there working. And he said, hey, Schultz wanted to learn how to parachute, skydive. And Briggs goes, I'll teach you, because that's what my college coach did. He flew small single engine planes, and he jumped out of airplanes all the time.
Wow.
And, oh yeah, it was amazing. I've never done it. Don't want to do it. Not really scared of heights. Though. I'm more scared of falling. I know. That was his hobby. He was really weird. I could go on a whole nother story about Coach Briggs. So he got talking to Dave Schultz, said, hey, let's have Schultz come and train with us. And so Schultz would come and train. And once again, like that was like that whole series when he was going through with the, the Olympics and the Worlds, when they were stopping him because he was choking people, but he was doing his own front headlock. But he would show you different positions. And that guy weighed maybe 170 some pounds. And I was, 205, 210, 190 pounder. And you just felt like a rag doll, like technically and angles and being fluid and smooth. I had never felt anything like that in my life, and still haven't to this day. I know, Gusky, that might come as a shock to you because you were pretty smooth too, but I I had never felt anything like that ever in my life. So he would come in and train with us, and like during the summers and everything else. And so he would go and you'd wrestle him for a while, and then he'd go, okay, take your shirt off and let's go outside. And so outside of West Gym, there's this grassy area in front of the clock tower, and you would just go out there and hand fight and wrestle out there. And the worst part about that, I was trying to think of that Ben Stiller's in that movie. I can't remember the movie where they're playing basketball and he kind of goes into that guy. He's all hairy and it's like just really gross. Well, Dave Schultz was the hairiest monster you'd ever met. So he'd take his shirt off, he'd be wrestling, and it'd be all hairy. You're like, oh, this is so gross. But it was Dave Schultz, the world Olympic champ. So you're just so thankful you got to work out with him. So he was there for a couple years on and off with us. And one Halloween, we'd been training, and then he had left, and we were getting ready for Halloween. We said, okay, we're going to have a Halloween party. It's the last time, probably have a couple beers here before season starts. We get competing. We don't compete for another month, end of November. Let's have a couple beers, have a Halloween party. So my roommates and I decided, hey, let's have a Halloween party. Even though we said it was a Halloween party, Gusky, no one showed up in costumes, right? It's just people came over to drink beer. That's what we did back in the day. So we're sitting there having a couple beers in the basement. You didn't want to have it upstairs because you probably break some nice stuff. Not like we had nice stuff, but you'd be in the basement. It's a lot easier to clean up. So this place is packed, and you're kind of feeling I think as a sophomore, junior in college, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Think you're, kind of a big deal, and people are having a good time. Music's pumping, 80s music, like I shared with you numerous times during workouts. So we're listening to some good 80s, hip hop, and all of a sudden, two guys show up. Two people, I don't know if they're guys, but two people show up in full clown costumes. I mean, they're full masks. They got clothes all the way down, even to the big bozo shoes. So these two guys walk in, and like everybody's just kind of staring at them. The music's still going, party's going on. Okay. So I kind of go over to them, like, hey guys, hey, thanks for coming, but you're not invited. It's not a costume party. So I was trying to act tough in front of everybody, right? Like, hey, you guys should probably leave. I said it nicely. And they just shook their big clown nose and their big clown head. They just did this. Both of them did. I was like, all right, guys, let's not be smart asses. It's okay. Let's just take off. You guys aren't invited. It's a private party. And they just both shook their heads at me. Well, one of my teammates, who I'm not even going to mention him because he's a little bit of a wild stallion, he just flies over my shoulder and just goes, pop, and just smokes the shorter one. Just pops him right in the face. And my eyes got all big. I was like, well, here we go. So I double the other clown. And this clown grabbed me and choked and choked and choked. And all of a sudden, I wake up, Gusky. I look up. Clown takes his mask off. It's Dave Schultz. I tried to double the world champ at a party, and he choked me out in front of everybody. So I'm laying there on the floor trying to be the tough guy at a party, and Dave Schultz chokes me out, and now I'm laying there going, cleaning up my drool that came outside my mouth. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Coach Schultz. I'm so sorry. He just shook his head, never said a word about it, never brought it up again. And Coach Briggs, the head coach was the little one that got punched in the face. And my teammate got in a little trouble over that one too. So, but yeah, that was my my Dave Schultz story.
That is a legendary story.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely insane. I think you told me that once, but you didn't tell me it was Dave Schultz.
Yeah, it was Dave. So I was trying to be a tough guy. That thing just got tired. Like, that moment, like when you get in somewhere, like in on a leg, you're like, and they do something, you're like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Well, as soon as he got his hands locked, and like, how's this guy know how to lock his hands? And I'm under him in a double. It just got tight. All of a sudden, oh.
So you like passed out and everything.
I was just laying there, clown over top of me, just looking at me, shaking it. And then he took his mask off, and I didn't feel so bad. I still felt bad, but I didn't feel that bad.
Yeah. Man.
Oh gosh, I made a lot of poor decisions in my college career, and that was one of them. Like, why did I try to double a clown? And now I'm scared of clowns. Every time I see clowns, I stay away from them.
Man.
Oh shoot, you like clowns, Gusky?
No, not after that.
Okay. No, I wouldn't either. So. Oh shoot.
That's insane.
Yep. What else you want to know, Gusky?
Man, I just love these stories.
Yeah, I tell you, the head assistant coach at Northern Iowa is Joel Greenlee. Joel is like number 3 on the Olympic ladder forever, all the way through his college career and long international career. He'd beaten guys that placed at Worlds, but he couldn't beat Bruce Bumgardner, who obviously won 12 medals. He couldn't get past Tom Erickson either. Sometimes he beat Tom Erickson, I think, a couple times. Tom was, the second best heavyweight, maybe the third best heavyweight in the world, but he couldn't beat Bruce Bumgardner. So you got 3 of the best heavyweights ever. So the depth at heavyweight was amazing. And Joel is my assistant. Joel wrestled at Northern Iowa, then he became the head assistant coach, and that was my go-to workout guy. And he was about, he's probably 6'4", 6'5", and 265, and shot low singles and rode legs. And so non-typical heavyweight, and trained harder than I've ever seen anybody train. I mean, unbelievable. Like, I could tell stories about him days on end, but I will tell you, in all these stories where I got beat up, or all these stories where like I learned something from him, right? Or you learn like how important or how intense you got to be, or what you got to do. And I know I was living in Cedar Falls for the summer, and I was supposed to work out with Greenlee at 3:00, and at noon, or like 12:30, 1 o'clock, my family showed up. They're like, "Hey, we're in town, and we want to take you out for lunch." I said, "Okay, great, no big deal. I'll just let Greenlee know." Well, back then we didn't have cell phones, and somehow we got past 3:00. We were eating a late lunch, and we went to I think it was called Shakey's. I think it was an all-you-could-eat buffet. And I'll never forget that. I had a You and I Wrestling t-shirt on, and back then, Gusky, jean shorts. Like jean shorts were popular. So I had jean shorts on, flip-flops, and a You and I Wrestling t-shirt. I'll never forget this. So this is 90. You weren't even born yet, Gusky. You weren't even born. So I go eat with my family, eat so much because they're buying, right? You remember being a college kid, and it's in the summer, but we trained every day. And I got done, and man, it's like 3:30. They dropped me off, and Greenlee's waiting at the doorstep. He'd been there like 35, 40 minutes waiting for me. I said, so sorry, but I mean, you weren't at home. And I didn't call his house, but I told him I did. I tried calling you at home, and he goes, "My wife's at home. She would have told me." And I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" He goes, "We're supposed to work out at 3:00. You said you would. I'm holding you to your word." I go, I just got done eating a buffet. He was like, "Who cares?" I go, so I went to my next one. I was like, "I don't have any gear." He goes, "You don't need it." I was like, "Oh shit." Okay. So he said, "You said you're going to work out. We're going to work out." He took me to the You and I Wrestling Room. Now, back then, no air conditioning, 110 degrees in there. And I go, "You going to let me grab some gear out of the locker room?" He goes, "Nope. You told me 3:00. You ain't got time to change. You're going to wrestle in jean shorts and a t-shirt and no shoes." So I was like, okay. And he freaking whooped me. I mean, like, I went out and got sick. I thought, okay, I'm done. Nope. Get back in here. And he just freaking put it on me and on purpose, which I needed it, right? I needed that. And the whole message was like, man, you tell somebody, you hold your word. You're going to be there to work out. You don't bail on them, right? You make sure you do whatever you can, and you're there. And then there's no like, "Oh, I need to warm up," or "Oh, hey." And that's where I get this is all Greenlee needed to do. He just warmed these 2 fingers up, and then he was ready. And so now I kind of catch myself doing that, like just getting my fingers warmed up. But he whooped me. Now he's the head coach at Ohio University. He beat me up so bad for 5 years. And I never figured this out, Gusky, but he told me at my senior year, and I'm a slow learner. You might know this. I'm a really slow learner. He told me he'd always give you the first takedown to keep you there, and he'd give you the last one to keep you coming back. So, but the 40 in between, you didn't score, right? He'd score 40 of them because he's trying to train and get better. but he whooped me so bad. Like that's another one of those top 5, like that guy. But like that, he'd give you that first one. You're like, oh, God dang it. And you'd be like, oh man, I'm in this. All right, here we go. And then it's like the death march. And then he'd give you the, all right, we're going to go one more in jean shorts. And that was the worst. I haven't wrestled in jean shorts since, but man, and that shirt got ripped. I mean, I had blood on my nose was bleeding, and back then I had a lot of hair, and I probably lost some hair that day. That was the most uncomfortable whooping. Like, you know, when you're wrestling, but you had ate right or drank right going into practice. This was just miserable. Those 18 slices of Canadian bacon mushroom pizza I ate, and the 3 Pepsis, which terrible nutrition, right? Shouldn't have been eating that anyway. And Gusky, whooping, just a whooping. Man. I gotta try to think of a story where I beat somebody. I'll tell you one, Gusky. So we had a teammate of mine. His name was Brett. He's a lawyer now, phenomenal lawyer. And I had just gotten whooped by Greenlee. And so they're like, man, I want to try to do that. So I going at Brett, and he kept backing up. And I was so mad. I stepped back and I swung as hard as I could to kind of like quit backing away. But I swung so hard and such a haymaker, I spun myself all the way down, and I tore my lat muscle in my back, and I was out for a week because I hurt my back trying to punch a guy so hard.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
So
what did he
quit
say?
Doing that. I missed him, right? I didn't even connect.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me like, "What are you doing?" Like, and I mean, I couldn't wrestle. I couldn't wrestle for a week. I strained some muscle or tore my lat. Oh, that was terrible. That was terrible.
How have you not told us these stories?
Oh my God, I was saving it for this podcast.
All right.
I was saving it, Gusky. I had to take notes. I showed you that. I was taking notes. I had to make sure I got to all my stories.
Well, good stuff. These are definitely living up to the hype.
So Gusky, 2 college wrestling stories. One, my first college match, I was a redshirt freshman, and we met halfway against the University of Minnesota. So between Northern Iowa and Minneapolis, there's Rochester, Minnesota. You know where Rochester is. We met in Rochester at a high school, and they packed the place. It's totally sold out. Minnesota's ranked in the top 10, and so is Northern Iowa. So it's going to be a great duel. We sell the place out, but at the time, Marty Morgan was ranked number 1 at 177. So I'm kind of laughing during, you know, we had traveled, we'd weighed in at home, and then you up there, and I'm kind of laughing. I got another night. This is going to be a freaking sweet first victory for me, my first duel. And we go to, and it's so funny, I'll never forget. And Rich Powers was my roommate and teammate, and Rich was ranked number 2 at 177, and Marty was ranked number 1 at 177. So I'm like, that's going to be a great match. I can't wait to watch that, and I'll go after it. And I got a freshman at 190. And I'm laughing at him, and he's kind of like, yeah, whatever. And so we go, and you don't know. And also we get to starting lineups, and we're lined up, and all of a sudden they say, at 177, Rich Powers. And he goes out there, and this other guy comes out and shakes hands with him from Minnesota. He comes back and taps me on the ass and goes, "Who's laughing now?" So my first college match was the number 1 ranked guy in the nation, Marty Morgan. And like I had from 120, well, it was 118 at the time, all the way up to my match to think about. I was in a great mood, great spirits. And I've never been so nervous to step. And Marty's a mountain of a man. I don't know how he ever made 177. And I go out there in the first period, it's like 3-2. I'm like, okay, but I think I pissed him off because it ended up like 19-8. The worst I ever got beat in college was by Marty, my very first duel, in front of like a lot of my hometowners. Like, oh, this guy went to college. He didn't get any better, but
oh wow,
I got my butt whooped. So
man, so that was like your freshman year, like first match ever.
First college duel. You know, redshirt freshman year.
Yeah.
And you're going against and I've seen Marty now all these years later, and I've told him that story before. He died laughing. He goes, "Oh, that was a really good match." I go, "Yeah, the first period it was, Marty." But it was kind of cool then trying to recruit his son. His son ended up going to the University of Minnesota, but it was cool to reach out to him and talk about his son. But then I was a freshman, and we were in a duel, and I was trying to think this in my notes, Gusky. And it's so funny now I tell this stuff because I would never want my athletes to do this as a coach. But a little more of a loose cannon back then. And we're in a duel and I get beat. In my redshirt freshman year, I get beat and I'm so mad. And it was either at Northern Illinois or Southern Illinois. I can't remember which one. And it's February. It's cold as all get out. I'm so mad and I'm in my singlet. And like they always put you like one end of the gym. So I come off the mat and I kick the door open with my foot and I go outside. Why I was going outside to cool down, I don't know. So I kick the door, I push the door open, I go outside, and it's like 3 feet of snow and wind blowing, and I'm like, oh shit. So I turn around, there's no door handle. There's no like handle to get back in. So I start banging on the door like, I need in. And my coaches go, don't any of you open that door. So here I am, singlet on, wrestling shoes and headgear, full of sweat, just got beat. I just made a fool out of myself. I kicked the door. I go outside. Now they won't let me back in. So I was like, oh, I got to walk back around. So I walk all the way around the whole gym. And then I got to come in front of the whole crowd because I just been outside because I was a little baby. Man. I just got beat and I threw a fit and then I had to sit on the butt. And I mean, no one said a word to me. No one said anything to me. They were all embarrassed. And then I was so embarrassed, but I never did that again.
Did you have to like walk through a bunch of snow?
Oh, yeah, my shoes were soaked. It was so goddamn cold too, Gusky. Like I couldn't have picked a worse night to do it. The wind was just blowing. You know how you're just soaked in sweat. It's like freezing to your eyes and everything. Worst thing that I was so stupid. Like, why did I do that? So stupid.
What year was that for you?
1991.
Was it like freshman or sophomore year?
Yeah, red shirt freshman year. I'll never forget it. I didn't have too many incidents after that. My freshman year, I had Marty Morgan. I threw my headgear once, and that didn't go over so well with my mom. I never did it again. So from 91 on, I've never thrown my headgear. Once in the room I did it. Nolan Hommel, an Osage kid, but that's a whole nother story.
Wait, what did your mom say about you throwing your?
She just walked down real quiet. I threw it after a match. I kind of did the old pissed off and she walked down after duel. Normally they're like, hey, good job, or good to see you, proud of you. You know, they'd always say something. And she looked right at me. She's a shorter little lady. She looked right at me and said, don't you ever do that again, and walked away. I was like, oh shit, I just pissed Marlis off. This ain't good.
Man. Yeah, that's scary.
Oh, what questions you got for me, Gusky? I'm running out of stories.
Coach, I just got some random questions, but man, those stories are amazing.
I got one. Can I share one more?
Please, go ahead.
Okay. So Jim Miller is the head coach at Wartburg, was at Wartburg, right? And he was the head assistant before Greenlee got it. And he worked with the lower weights. He's a great coach. And I ended up working with him for 6 years. And it was my another red shirt freshman year. So red shirt freshman year, we're in the national duels, but they used to call it the Virginia duels. And we were wrestling Nebraska, where my brother was at. And so, like, you really wanted to beat Nebraska, like I did. I really wanted to beat Nebraska. I guess he had graduated, so it was the year after. I still wanted to beat Nebraska. And Jim Miller's he's 150 pounds, right? And we were wrestling, and I was up by 7. I was up by 7, and they told me to cut him to get the major to put the duel out of reach to go to the finals of the national duels. And so I cut the guy and shot a big double with both arms out. The guy throws me and pins me. And it wasn't that I got pinned. It was like when I got thrown to my back, all I'm thinking to myself is, oh shit, I just lost this duel. And because my knees were bent, my feet were on the mat. I didn't even try to bridge off my back. I just laid there. I get pinned. I can't believe it. I get up, and Coach Miller's already like out on the mat. Like he already came out, and he's not talking to the ref. He's coming for me. And I see this guy, and I got a picture of Jim Miller. He's just a short little shit, right? And mustache, had this big old stash. He grabbed the back of my singlet and lifted me up. I shit you not. Like my feet, and I was the 90-pounder. He lifted me up and he drugged me and took me in the back. And he goes, that'll never happen again. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, 1, this is a terrible wedgie. Number 2, I can't believe this little guy's picking me up and dragging me. And 3, I can't believe I just lost the duel and I was gonna major the guy, and we end up losing the duel. And I'm learned from that of like, one, I mean, you get shoot, get good takedowns, don't let them back in the match. And I mean, you could talk about all the scenarios of what it's done for me. And even now as a coach, like, always remember, hey, if we're gonna cut and get that major, it's got to be a good, clean, solid takedown. Because I've learned from all those things. Gusky, I can tell you a million of my failures, and that's probably the thing that's helped me the most, is just kind of laughing at all my failure. I have failed so much that I've tried to learn from those. And like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm a slow learner, but my goodness, I've failed a ton.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing all the stories.
You're welcome.
You are a great guy for the listeners. Like, you've also had a ton of successes, but also, what was that guy like as a coach? I listened to a couple podcasts with him on it, and he seems like a pretty cool guy to be around.
Coach Miller, yeah, absolutely. You should put him on your podcast. You really should.
It
really motivates you, and just, I mean, he's amazing. He's helped me a ton as a coach. I mean, I still reach out to him now. Even competing against him, when he was the head coach at Warburg and at lacrosse, and I grew a lot those first couple of years. I struggled at the first, when I first got to lacrosse and trying to figure out who I wanted to be, and had some differences with him early on, and as I had to change and I had to grow. But I think that I've really grown a lot towards it, and you respect a lot what he's done, not only for wrestling but really for Division III. I mean, the things that, I mean, he was the first one to get a full-time assistant coach back in 2003. Then all of a sudden it just kind of got in. Everybody started doing it and traveling and doing tournaments, over Christmas breaks. I mean, he's done a lot for the sport of wrestling. And so, and he's a great guy to be around. I spent a ton of time around him. Now, you think that Needham and I spent a lot of time together. I think I spent a lot of time with Coach Miller, and was his driver a lot. But anyway, that's a long answer to your question. But great guy, phenomenal coach, and I definitely look up to that guy.
That's cool. Yeah, he seems like a cool guy. But so you were talking about the Nebraska duel, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, your brother wrestled there, and he was a heavyweight, I think.
Yeah, he was a heavyweight All-American for Nebraska. But I think I don't know that he was in the lineup at that time. I think he had graduated. I think he was, because I was a redshirt freshman, so they had a different guy in there. But yeah, I was wrestling his teammates and some of his roommates. That was really weird. I'd known all those guys growing up because they're my brother's, good friends, and so I wanted to beat those guys, and I screwed it up. God dang it, I screwed it up.
Did you guys overlap any of the years you were wrestling?
No, I was redshirting when he was a senior. Yep, I was redshirting when he was a senior. So I didn't get that chance. That'd been pretty cool. That was one of the reasons I thought about going to Nebraska, is just be on the same team as him. But I'm so glad. I love Nebraska, was great, but I'm so glad I went to Northern Iowa. Panthers, baby.
Panthers, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other stories that you want to get out there?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I'm sure I'll think of someone when we stop talking tonight. But I think for what you needed tonight, next summer, ask me back on if you're not, so big time that you can't remember your
We'll
coach.
We'll definitely do another one.
We'll do one more. I got more stories. I got some John Smith stories. We'll get to those next time.
All right, good stuff. I just got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
First, just if this probably isn't a quick one, but compare Division III and Division I.
Division III and Division I, I think that there is obviously differences. There's good to both sides of it. I mean, wrestling's wrestling, and I absolutely love Division III. I didn't have probably the best outlook on Division III because I had wrestled Division I, and like, you just didn't really, back then in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't as big a deal. And then it's just gotten a lot better. You got a lot better coaches, a lot better resources, and all of a sudden there's some amazing athletes in Division III. I mean, you look at some of the guys that have gone through, like a Josh Chelf here at UWL. I mean, he plays twice at Midlands. Jason Love plays twice at Midlands. Ryan Allen twice at Midlands. I mean, they're placing at the big time tournaments. So we've had some Bebeto Yiwa, and so I don't know that there's a lot of it depends what you're looking for is really key. I always tell guys that, like, when you come to Division III, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. Academics are hard, and you're not going to have all the bells and whistles that Division I might have, but you're going to train really, really hard. But you're going to do it because you love the sport. There's no athletic scholarships, at least that I'm aware of. Wink, wink. No, I'm just kidding. And that'll get me in trouble with someone, right? I'm just joking, everyone. Relax. But you're here because of the love of wrestling. And that's the part I truly appreciate, is that here's some guys that train just as hard as anybody else. And some of those guys, Gusky, that will put the hours in just like anybody else. And they're here, and because they love the sport and they love their team and their university, and they're getting amazing degrees. So I think there's a level for everybody. I think when it goes back to when they say, oh, you were an All-American. Yeah. They don't ask what division you were, right? They don't ask, oh, you're a national champ. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, unbelievable. You're a national champ. And so, there's all those little quirks. Is Division I got some better athletes? Oh, absolutely. My gosh, there's some guys that it amazes me still to this day. I'm glad I wrestled back in the day when I did. And but there's some great things on both sides. I don't like to compare them. I don't like to contrast them. I just think if you got to find your right fit, and I think that's key.
Cool. Yeah, okay. I like what you're saying. But
okay.
Next one is most impressive non-UWL Division III wrestler last season.
Oh Lord, I'll come back to. Most impressive non-UWL Division III wrestler.
Yeah.
I just think he was. Yeah. I think Kyle Briggs at Wartburg he's just very athletic, scores a lot of points. His uncle is a UNI guy. His dad was a UNI guy. His uncle is my college coach, so I have to say that.
Okay.
So Don Briggs, that's his nephew, Kyle Briggs. He is pretty athletic. He could go. I don't tell anybody, but I thought that Mikey Tortorisi at Whitewater is pretty good, but I can't say anything, towards Whitewater. Gosh, yeah. I'll lose my job at UWL. So don't tell anybody, Gusky.
That's funny. I was kind of thinking about who I would even say, because it's hard to pick a nine.
Who would you say, Gus? Who would you say?
I mean, I don't know him, but I think that Whitewater kid's pretty dang good. Seems like a pretty 25? Respectable guy too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But I think so.
There's so many of them.
Yeah. That's great. There's great guys. But I would say, yeah, I'll go with my answer with Briggs.
All right. And then favorite beer.
Today I haven't had one. Favorite beer is Dan Gable beer. When I can get it when I'm back in Iowa, but I'm normally a Blue Moon or a Spotted Cow. I get Blue Moon because I get my orange slice with it, so I feel somewhat healthy. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm drinking bubbly now. I got bubbly.
Yeah, it's only Thursday. But last one is favorite band of all time.
Yeah, that's you got Grand Funk Railroad, you got Kool and the Gang, you got Skid Row. Gee, I don't know if I can. Motley Crue, Poison's right up there. Shoot, I'm good. Yeah, I can't answer that. I got a lot of favorites.
Five. Yeah, that's okay.
I can pick 5. Yeah, I can pick 5. There you go.
Good stuff, Coach. That's all I got for you. Thanks for making this really entertaining. It flew by.
All right. You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me on.
And that's it for today, guys. I want to let you know, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can watch this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much every other podcast app. So if you don't have an iPhone, there's tons of other free podcast apps. So if you want to do the dishes, watch this in the car, or listen to it in the car, you can do that. And you just got to get a podcast app. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in. I really enjoyed these stories. I thought they were awesome. And I hope you did too. With that being said, have a great rest of your week. See ya!